Okay, so I think we should cover how believable and emotionally jerking these characters are, and how much we get invested in them. Now, Amnesia games generally have a small amount of character, but it's usually a quality over quantity deal. In The Dark Descent we have Daniel, a character who is often used in video games, a silent, blank protagonist that allows you to become them. Daniel is terrified of his environment, just like you. Daniel has discovered his past and taking responsibility for it despite feeling that he didn't do it, and would not choose to do these things, just like you. We go through the game with him, learning as he does, and making choices that feel realistic and meaningful. It's real.
This will sound horrible. Go to the inner sanctum, find Alexander, and kill him.
After the amnesia kicks in, everything which is Daniel is essentially gone. The player is the new Daniel, and he should be able to act the way he pleases, and even reject his own background as he discovers it. That is why everything concerning Daniel is flashbacks. Even the diary entries are read as what is being told is happening right now. That is, it is the old Daniel telling the story, and not the player reading it.
Let's get a direct comparison to Mandus from Pigs. Mandus is a character that knows something that we don't, something about his kids. We quickly understand that they are our kids, and that they are our motivation for everything. You don't care about the kids? Well, you should, since nothing else will happen otherwise. Well, that's a lie, since everything happens on rails and you can't make choices here or even feel like you can, but let's not cover that here. One of the main problems is that you feel like you're ahead of Mandus in the entire game. Who the fuck thought his kids were alive? Until you find out the big twist, nobody. That's who. They're paraded with ghostly properties, with blood left, right and center, yet Mandus keeps on going.
Where are my children?
Follow us, Papa. We know the way.
The children weep in the darkness.
Beast! Creature! Where are my children? Where are my children?
Down here, Daddy. Faster, faster.
Where are my children? You promised me my children!
Daddy, Daddy!
Where are they? Where are my children? But why did you take my children? I want my children, you unholy bastard!
Come on, Papa. Let's climb this one. I can see more pictures at the top.
Where are my kids? I mean, if they weren't dead, why the fuck are they running around all over London randomly?
There's nothing to explore. There's nothing left. Wait a minute. Whoa! Whoa! Okay, okay! What the hell? Was that my kitties? Why were they doing that?
Another problem with this character is he makes these stupid decisions throughout the game you have no control or interest over. You don't even remotely understand why.
Okay. What's going on? What's going on here?
Now, Mandus, set them free. Set them all free.
Somehow I don't think I should. Something tells me this might be a bad idea, but here we go anyway. Yay!
This all results in you feeling disconnected to the character. You don't understand what he's doing or why things are happening. It just gets to the point where Mandus takes you through the game because you don't know what to make of him or anything else.
I mean, it's my machine. I would guess I would know how to do it, but this guy doesn't seem to remember what he was doing his entire life, so...
Markiplier has no idea what to make of what's happening. He just ends up doing what we all have to do. Go with the flow, and nod your head at everything that happens. So why don't you decide for me which handling of which character is better?
Barely see. Yep.
Now let's look at Alexander and I guess Evil Mandus or Telephone Mandus or whatever the fuck you want to call him. Alexander is a great fucking villain. You're provided with snippets and moments that all come together to provide you with this daunting figure of respect and fear. His contempt for weakness and strong will are ever present throughout each of the game's flashbacks. He takes you into his home, protects you, yet you can't trust him. Why? These are things you come to learn throughout the game, and each time you're given slightly more information, the pieces begin to come together and Alexander's true character is revealed. And not to mention the voice acting on this guy is glorious.
I was wondering if you were going to show up. I see Agrippa convinced you to run some errands. Tell me, is everything nice and clear now? Am I the villain? Good and evil. Such comforting concepts, but hardly applicable.
Alexander is built up all the way throughout the game, and when you finally reach the naked bastard, you can decide if he's truly evil, and choose what you think is right.
He is in a sense the villain, so I wanted to do everything that I could to make him likable and have people sympathize with him.
Alexander's impact on the game is clearly relevant. He is what drives you as well as some other aspects. So learning about his life and his motivations is relevant. It all matters. What's interesting about this whole setup is that you develop these characters individually and against each other because you really are just like Daniel, coming into this story not knowing all the facts, but by the end of the game you're all caught up and ready to make your own decisions. Now on to Evil Mandus. I don't know, just put a poo on the screen. Big old poopy. This character is essentially the evil version of you, or what you were before the fever broke. He's hell-bent on feeding people to pigs, and subsequently feeding them into his machine so that he can save them. He provides you with what many might call clues, that I call absolute garbage.
Hello?
Precious eagle cactus fruit. Help us. I have such visions to share with thee. If my jaw be unshackled and you harvest the crust from my eyes, they can be clean, Mandus, but my thoughts and words can unfouled be.
Did I miss the message on this? Did I not interpret what he was saying properly? Well, that's just this game, isn't it? He is the perfect character for this. A completely convoluted story narrated by a character who is mentally handicapped. Perfect. You don't even have any clues to who this guy is up until the game just out and out says, "He's evil, kill him!" And you just react with, "Oh, okay then."
What are you doing, little piggy? Do you think I will allow you to sabotage me again?
He has this attitude of, "You can't stop me." Then after a flip of a few switches, he's in the palm of your hands.
Mandus, please, I am no more evil than you. We sought the same thing, to save humanity, ridding them of their painful, stupid, pointless lives.
They clearly weren't trying very hard when they were making this. God, he's so boring and extremely pointless. If I were on the writing staff, I'd honestly have been like, okay, this is good, but how about we just, I don't know, try and rewrite everything? Huh? Is that good? I mean, how do you even describe this character? Ugh. The one thing that is commendable in Pigs, in terms of character, is, I guess, the progression of the conversations with the professor. They're essentially the replacement for Daniel reading his own diary entries.
But we can save them. We can set them free. We can replace a rotten old world with a clean new one. Mr. Mandus, you sound every bit the fanatic. Well, how can I be otherwise, Professor? How can any man of ethics simply stand by and watch this world drown in its own excrement?
The issue is that through several audio clips of his interview, we learn that Mandus justifies himself by claiming that the streets of London are filled with filth and in need of cleansing, and moments before the last recording he kills the professor despite explicitly saying in his diary that he would entertain the professor's questions in order to avoid further attention. Seems legit. Also, why the fuck are his recordings with the professor scattered throughout the game? I feel like they try and explain this away in one of the diaries. Do not tell me that this is the game covering its ass by saying these gramophones are around to play music to soothe the product, meaning Pigs. Since music doesn't equal recordings of his freaking conversations with... It's like the only evidence that he's killed somebody right there, and he's just left it on the floor. If this is like Mandus's creeping insanity playing memories on the gramophones, then I can't be bothered to explain how inconsistent and poorly designed that is as a storytelling device. Daniel has flashbacks that play based on the places he visits. They remind him of the memories that have been forgotten. That alone is so much more simple and understandable without ruining the immersion. So why don't you decide which characters are better built and portrayed?
Fit on a deeper level. The music, voice acting, and writing are all noticeably improved.
Fuck you, Revision 3! Finally, a section where I don't need to blow my brains out. What I need to cover here is how good they are, and how good they are for the context, and how they stack up against each other. The attention to detail in both games is excellent. These environments feel real, and the choice in gothic theming for a medieval castle and surgical tragedy for the Victorian age is brilliant for both. The enemies look terrifying for the most part, and everything blends together in a real way. There isn't really a superior game for this one, but I will say the castle in Dark Descent is so much more alive.
After the prison level, some light is needed, and that is what we want to give the player right now. We also wanted to have an environment that did not look like anything else the player has seen so far. When the player has endured the dark and gloomy dungeon levels, we wanted to give some sort of award for coming so far, and this level is supposed to be that award. The sound of water is also found quite soothing for most people, so we wanted them to relax, calm down. Only to be more acceptable for scares later on, of course.
There is a purpose behind the design of every room and every look of each portion of the game, and that is something that you can easily commend, but this is something that's definitely lost from Machine for Pigs. Since you feel as though you're going from house to engineering to factory to house to outside to factory, without any real purpose or impression throughout. There's a lack of claustrophobia and a severe lack of the fear of the dark, which I'll get to. This translates to the graphics in terms of limiting the options that the designers have in terms of using some creativity in the look of the levels while the gameplay is considered.
A major design guideline for us was to give each level a unique theme, something that all puzzles, events, and the general atmosphere was built upon. This makes each level a little piece of the story and theme at large, and also gives them focus so the player is not distracted with too much information. The theme in this level is the strange creatures that lurk in the castle. The player first spots them momentarily in archives, so now is the perfect place to build some fear. There is never any real threat in this level, but it's much darker than any before, and there's a constant pressure with boards creaking and the like. The flashbacks also give hints of where the strange creatures come from, making all events focused on the level's central theme.
When you have synergy like this between graphics and gameplay, it makes for a fantastic experience. When you don't, it becomes mediocre. So this section should be interesting. We're going to cover the soundtrack for both games, how sound is incorporated throughout, and whether these things really do sound good. So, Pigs radically changed how music works in the game. In the Dark Descent, you'll be alerted to the presence of threats with a rise in tension from the music as well as grunting or moaning. Then the chills would start to come as the moaning turned to roaring and the music elevates to heavy drums and a pure screeching, essentially mimicking insanity, combined with a surgical reject chasing you made for what is essentially the iconic moments in Amnesia. This has been entirely removed from Pigs, and is it for the better? Of course it is! No. The situations with the enemies are almost awkward now because the player cannot tell the difference between real danger and scripted events. The music dictated it in the first game without breaking any immersion, like a sign saying, "Watch out, danger." You end up blundering around and awkwardly deciding, yes, that was scary, or, oh, that was supposed to happen like that, okay.
Oh, behind me! Okay! Ah, I got suffocated! I thought I was gonna get away! What do I do? Ah! What the hell? I can't move! There we go, I guess. That did it. Good job, me. What the hell?
Needless to say, a fucking terrible choice. Anyway, the Dark Descent theme really wants to push the feeling of loneliness and fear despite having nothing on screen. It sets the tone right from the menu screen and matches the game entirely. Pigs has a more operatic score that enhances the epicness of the scale, which works because the story is a much grander tale. I thoroughly enjoy both of these themes, considering the context. They both enhance a feeling of fragility in these horrific worlds. However, this is a video game, so the fact that the score is more impressive in Pigs is barely relevant if it doesn't serve the game in some shape or form. You see, video games often need a way to tell you that an enemy's on screen, be it a target, something blatantly obvious, someone on a radio warning you, or the thing itself being as provocative as possible. The worst way is having a wall of text explaining that this guy hates you, he wants you to die. Dark Descent warned you that yes, that is a monster, and holy fuck, it's getting closer, run, with an increase in tension and pressure. Literally, playing that music at any point turns people who love this game into sniveling children because they know that death is coming. Whilst on the flip side, moments to raise tension and moments to push the story along were not accompanied by that score, letting you know without breaking immersion that you were ultimately okay. In Pigs, they've not only gotten rid of it, they've replaced it with nothing. I can't imagine that they just wanted to have their own style and make it as real as possible to potentially increase immersion. But in what universe is a soundtrack counterproductive to immersion? since it can be argued that the music in Dark Descent is ambient, meaning that the kind of sounds you expect to hear while skulking around in a castle. And they manipulate the fact wholesale to affect your emotions. The best way I can describe The Dark Descent is an assault on the senses, in a good way. They knew what to focus on to maximize a horror experience, and the amount of clones that exist because of this shows that they found something golden. Pigs is nothing new, and it's confusing to know when you're changing from I am in search mode to I am in trying to survive mode. I'm not convinced the game even knows. In any case, the Chinese room did not take advantage of sound, because despite the soundtrack being very good, it's music. It's not ambient.
And also let the player do as little as possible, because if you're like shooting stuff all the time, that's your main activity. You're not gonna focus on some weird sound. And so if your entire focus is just focusing on weird sounds, you get a different kind of experience. You're like minimizing the impressions that the player has. Sensory deprivation almost, with just the small sounds and ambient tunes and stuff like that.
Sound is imperative to create atmosphere. Pigs had the resources, and they blew it under a veil of trying to make a more immersive experience, which eventually led to a lesser one.
Coupled with a character who possesses the motor skills roughly equivalent to that of a blind toddler. You'll be bumping into things and struggling to open doors, and that's precisely how the game wants you to feel. Struggling to open doors, 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 struggling to open doors.
Shut the fuck up, Revision 3! Holy shit, viewer, how'd you get this far without clicking off? Do you have some kind of agenda? Huh? If you really want to see part 3, go ahead and click here. As for more links, well, I haven't got many videos yet, I'm afraid, so, this is all good. See you next time!